Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It's so awesome to have you with me today. Let's get into this one. It's going to be super important for you to understand what is really killing your success, your productivity, what is really causing you so much stress. Stress, as you may or may not know, is an epidemic, according to the World Health Organization. Stress has a lot to do with how we perceive our world, our environment, our lives. And I want to talk to you today about how to get that under control, how to reframe your relationship to your day to day tasks, to all of the things that you want to accomplish, to your busy, full life. Because if you can understand this one thing, and grasp it and run with it, you are going to feel way more in control of your life. Your stress is going to decrease because you're going to be working on the right things at the right time. You're also going to be able to be more discerning throughout the day, and it's going to take a lot more off your plate. One of the big things I see with a lot of the clients that I coach is this inability to really understand what they should or should not be working on. And sometimes we just have these old, outdated programs of this is what I used to do. This is how I've always done it. So, and it's worked for me so far. So, why change anything? And I can understand that perspective. But when it comes to empowerment, when it comes to holistic empowerment, and holistic empowerment includes your health and well being, your vitality, your energy, your mindset, your social components, all of that. We don't want to just look at your productivity and focus on that. We want to take the human being and focus on everything. That's what I do inside of the Rise Revolution membership. That's what I do inside of my curriculum. When you work with me one on one or the mastermind, it's always about empowering all the important facets of your life. So, what you're about to learn today and how to change the perception of it is going to help you level up all areas of your life. This is really, really important. And one of the most important side effects is going to be a decrease in your stress. So if that sounds juicy, amazing, incredible, gimme, 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 Kim, then stick around because this episode is going to do it for you. Okay. So one of the first things when I just now thought about creating this episode, and I was reminded by my own stress to make this episode because I had done something I used to do a while ago when I was first starting my business, when I was first becoming an online coach, and probably there was facets of it when I had my brick and mortar yoga studio business. But it wasn't until I let go of that business and fully stepped online that I started to find that I really couldn't find the edge or boundary anymore between what was enough to work on. Like what felt like, okay, I'm laying my head on the pillow at the end of the day. This was a good productive day. I worked on the right things. I worked on them in the right amount. I'm moving ahead. I couldn't feel that anymore. And I'm curious if you feel the same way. It's like the lines between accomplishment on a day to day basis were now blurred. And everything just seemed to be a constant rolling task of everything we got to do all the time, whether that's with stuff inside my business or whether that's stuff at the house, like cleaning and laundry. Oh my God, the endless forever task of laundry. Whatever. That's just going to be there. You're going to die with laundry. Don't stress about it. But it really got to me because I was feeling like I wasn't being productive. And that really got me down on myself because I was like, my God, why am I so exhausted at the end of every day? And yet I'm feeling like I'm not working hard enough. So I realized today that that sort of feeling was creeping into the day, and that wasn't good because that can leave me feeling completely stressed out, overwhelmed, and then I start to spiral and think of all the things I should be doing, and I bounce from task to task to task to task to task. Sound familiar? Yeah. So, what is the solution here? And what are we really talking about? The word here that I want to drop in is urgency. Stress and urgency. We have a very distorted view nowadays of what is actually urgent in our life. Urgent things are important. Urgent things require that we take care of them. And it's important to know what your urgent things are. But we should also know that not everything is urgent. And unfortunately, we treat everything with this high urgency in our inbox, text messages, our comments on Facebook and Instagram, social media. Everything now is bundled into this feeling of it's urgent. And so there's this relentless feeling of if you don't get to it now, right? Everyone's going to be mad at you. If you don't get to it now, your business is going to go under. If you don't get to it now, your health is going to be crippled, right? Like there's this false, distorted sense of urgency nowadays because of the way social media, because of marketing, because of a lot of different things. We really can't take a break from our lives or we don't feel like we can. And so it keeps us on this autopilot loop that everything needs to be done all the time, consistently, no breaks. And therefore, everything gets treated as the same. It's all urgent. But this is really good news at the same time because hopefully, as you hear me saying this, you're also realizing, well, that's ridiculous, Kim. I know what you mean, Kim, but I can see how, well, an email from my coworker might be more urgent than an email from the local apparel store down the road, right? However, when I open it up, there they all are. I can't stand that there's unread emails, something to that effect, and you just start clicking. Before you know it, your whole day is shot. You're finishing up the workday, and most of us, if we're honest, especially if you're a small business owner, are really getting distracted and pulled to all different directions because we really have this distorted view of urgency because everything is being treated as urgent. Nothing is really getting done. Nothing of importance is really getting done. And this is a problem because if you're not completing things that are actually important, you're not feeling fulfilled. And if you go weeks and months and years not feeling fulfilled, you have a life that is void of meaning. Meaning and mattering is really important to human beings. It's important to our wellness, our psychology, our internal and external health. It is important to our value system. It is important to our emotional well being. It is really important that we have a life of meaning, of value, and that we know we matter. Well, if you want to feel like you matter and you want to feel like you have meaning, we have to start accomplishing things that actually matter and have meaning. Not whack-a-moling with all the emails, not whack-a-moling with the text messages. We actually have to start being discerning. Once I got this, once I understood that not everything had to be treated with urgency, my whole life changed, literally. I started to lift my head up more in my business. I felt like I was on top of the water instead of sinking down into the mud. I felt like I could accomplish things that actually mattered, which made me rest easier at night. I had less anxiety. I had less FOMO. I had less like that sort of like burning, tingling feeling in your spine that you're missing out, that you're somehow slacking. That all went away when I used this reframe that I'm talking about right now. You have to change your perception to your to-do list. You have to change your perception to what needs to be done throughout the day. So part of this is just pausing at the start of every day. And before you get into anything, you have to create space for the reframe. Otherwise, you're going to drop right into old conditioning, old patterns, old subconscious thinking that says everything is urgent. Because for how long have you been thinking that? A long time, right? And now here you are stumbling across this podcast or this YouTube video, and you're like, whoa, this is new. I haven't heard this before or haven't been reminded of this in a while. So now the next question should be for you, how do I get this reframe, Kim? Because yeah, I'd like some free time back. And hell yeah, I'd like to feel like I'm working on the things that actually matter in my life. And I would like to lay my head down at night. Thank you very much. Feeling like I've accomplished something that actually freaking matters. I got you. You're in the right spot. Let's talk about that mental reframe that's so important. I have a little saying, and this saying has to do with time management. It should make some sense to you that managing your time correctly is essential for working on the right things. Because when you manage your time, you're actually not trying to do all the things because that would be impossible, right? It would be impossible to put all the things on our plate in one given day. That's what we tried to do in the past. And not only do we not get it done, but we feel like a failure because we had this expectation and once again did not complete it. It's probably because we're very unrealistic with what we can actually get done in a day. So, one of the first things is to get a grip on your time management system. Now, I have a lot of YouTube videos and I have a lot of podcast episodes on this. So, go back, hunt, search through. If I can think of any, I will put them in the notes below this and have you just read along and listen along and watch along. But really, it's important that you have some steady skills involved and you practice them often to make sure that you are prioritizing the things you need to get done in a day. So, the first little skill I want to teach you is first two for you. First two for you. What on earth does this mean? It means that the first 2 hours of your day are for you, no one else. Not the kids, not the husband, not the significant other, not even the dog. Maybe you let the dog out. But as soon as the dog comes back in, first two for you. That means the first 2 hours of your waking day are for you only. This is key, you guys. If we don't set aside time for us, we become resentful people. When we mismanage our time and don't allocate time for us, we unfortunately become very resentful people. We start blaming our kids, we start blaming our significant other, we start blaming our jobs for stealing our free time, for stealing time away for us. We say things like, oh, if I didn't have to bring so and so to their soccer game, if I didn't have to bring so and so to my kids' my ballet practice, if I didn't have to share a car with my sibling or whatever your situation is that you're now making an excuse, if that were to be fixed, tell me, would you really know what to do with your time? Would you really know how to take ownership of every hour of every day? Probably not. So that's not to say that your excuses aren't real, that your responsibilities aren't real. But what I am calling out right now is that you can't make your responsibilities your excuses. Your responsibilities are responsibilities are responsibilities. Everyone's got responsibilities. You still have the same 24 hours in every day as Beyonce. Let me remind you, okay? So if she can do amazing things, so can you with the same amount of time. We have no excuses, do we? She's running several companies and running the world at the same time. So if Beyonce can do it with the same amount of time, what's her secret strategy? I bet you Beyonce takes care of her integrity. Wouldn't you agree? I bet you she has practices for her mind, body, soul, vitality, and energy levels. And I bet you she doesn't hang out with everyone. And I also bet you, just like every successful person on this planet, they don't do every task. They delegate, they prioritize, and they really get clear on what truly is urgent. Once you unlock this power, time management skills, you will be working on the right things. And what are the right things? They're the right things that matter to you based on your values, based on your brand's mission if you're a business owner, based on what really matters to you. Those are the things you need to be working on. So, first two for you, what I want you doing and what you need to start doing is getting up earlier. I don't want the BS excuse that you're not a morning person because you're talking to someone, you're listening to someone who used to say, I'm not a morning person. But then I get really sick and tired of letting everyone else win. Because all those morning people, man, they seem to be really successful. And then I got jealous of them. And then I felt less than them. And then I recognized my thoughts as super sabotaging. And I thought, well, let me get curious about this story that I'm not a morning person. So I started asking myself, where did that thought come from? And I really had no answer other than everyone around me just says they're not morning people too. Everyone around me says, ugh, I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl. It could it be that I just had all of these external situations, all of these people around me constantly show, yes, that was the reason. So I decided in that moment, keyword being decided, that I was going to take ownership of my own life. And so I did. I became a morning person. I started to get up earlier. I listened to fun music. I invented from that moment, that decision, the radical ritual method. It started manifesting at rapid speed and dramatically changing and improving my life. And everything has changed because of that one decision. So if I can get up early and become a morning person by choice, so can you. So you get up early in the morning before anyone else is up and you got 2 hours dedicated to you. What do you do with that time? Well, one of the things you do is reframe your day. Now, I don't mean get right into project planning and looking at your to do list or your to do list, as they sometimes call it. I mean mentally reframing and expanding your awareness of what is possible for that day. Sometimes, listen to this, we feel that everything is urgent simply because we did not cognitively create space inside of us at the start of our day. When you feel tiny and small and shrunken in, and like the world is just insurmountable pressure all the time, you will be in fight or flight. And that adrenaline, fight or flight response is what keeps us reacting to the external world. That external world that's all about people and time and appearances and environment. We become so focused on the external world. It's impossible to go within and focus on you and your well being and to be still and contemplate the existence of reality. When we're in our fight or flight, we are laser focused on everything that has to be done. And so it feels as though everything is urgent because, well, in the olden times, back in the day, if a saber-tooth tiger came into our cave, yeah, we'd have to do something about it, right? That's an urgent situation. Run or play dead or whatever you do with a saber-tooth tiger. Bang pots and pans together really loud, whatever it is. But quite honestly, once we resolve that issue, we could go back to normal or homeostasis. But we don't have that nowadays, do we? We are always bombarded with to do items. We are always bombarded with tasks. We are endlessly bombarded with comments and questions and people calling or texting, social media, notifications, our boss, bills, 401k, everything, holidays, birthdays. It goes on and on. So it's very important that we start to bake into your day time away from that madness, time where you can slow down, time for yourself, time to reflect and feel gratitude for your body, for your breath, for your mind, for your life. Time to plug into source and God and the divine if you believe in that. Time to think about and visualize how you want the day to feel. Time to think about how you want to give and have other people perceive you and receive you in the moment and how you want to receive life back. Your big, grand plans and feelings. First two for you. First two in the morning are to do just that. When you emerge from these 2 hours in the morning, you will have reframed a new relationship to your day, to your life. Instead of being so obsessed with what's going on in my environment, with my coworkers, with time and money, we become focused on who am I as a person? We become focused on gratitude and love, higher frequency thoughts. We become focused on the way we show up and our sort of energetic responsibility to impact other people in a positive way. We remember our sacred mission and why we're here, which is the exact opposite of fight or flight. So it's at the end of the first two for you that you will actually feel like you are in the driver's seat again and that you have your hands on the steering wheel and that now you have the magic D word, discernment. When you sit down at your desk and you open up your Google email and you go to make your to-do list or your to-do list for the day, you will have a very different frame of mind to the world and tasks, and you will be able to see clearly where you are taking on things that you just don't need to, or where you are treating everything as once was urgent is now individual tasks. It's no longer all urgent. There's no stress to get it all done now. The pressure is gone. Amen. Hallelujah. Woo, right? Now, with this realistic change in our perception to our day, we can go in and decide, is this something I need to work on or not? Does this have to get done right now or not? Is this something I could delegate to friends, families, or coworkers, my kids? Is this something that I absolutely need to do? Is this an old task that old me would have done? What can I do to get this off my plate? Or at the very least, we say, hey, this is kind of urgent. Let me just respond to this person that I'll get back to them next week. We can start to get things off of our plate in this way by changing our perception. The only way to change your perception is to do some embodiment work, breath work, gratitude work, journaling work, go for the walk, take your cold shower, whatever you got to do, but make sure you get it in the morning. First two for you so that you take charge of the day. Lower your stress levels and feel like your life has meaning and flow again. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. If you're on YouTube, listen, do me a favor. If you enjoyed this, like it. Maybe share it with someone you love. And I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. Leave a comment below on your favorite part of this or really impacted you and what you plan to do with this information. I would love to read it. If you guys are listening on this podcast, hello. I really appreciate your time and attention. And I love that you're here. I will see you soon.